All right, I just want to talk about the clinical aspects of memory in this memory part 3. Yeah, you recall we had part 1, part 2. Part 1 was about introduction to memory. Part 2 was about the cellular basis of this memory. Now part 3, we want to talk about the clinical aspects of memory. David7ScienceTheater@gmail.com. Please subscribe for more and better videos. All right. Okay, let's go. Yeah, that is our poster banner. Don't forget to like, subscribe for more and better videos, and share to other friends, students to also enjoy. All right. Objectives. Objectives. We will talk about drugs facilitating memory. We shall talk about amnesia, and we also talk about Alzheimer's disease and senile dementia. All right. All right. All right. All right. Drugs facilitating memory. One common. We shall talk about several drugs facilitate memory. I don't advise you to take them, but they do it. Common CNS stimulants that facilitate memory or facilitates learning include caffeine, amphetamines, physostigmine, nicotine, humulin, strychnine, and pentyl in tetrazole. Those four drugs, they facilitate memory. This one is more common, caffeine. Amphetamines are also available. Physostigmine, that is anticholinesterase inhibitor. Anticholinesterase, okay? So we have their mechanism of action. They probably facilitate consolidation of memory. That's how they facilitate memory. They facilitate consolidation of memory. So converting the short term into long term, the guy does not forget. For example, physostigmine acts by inhibiting acetylcholinesterase and hence prevents breakdown of acetylcholine, while nicotine stimulates cholinergic receptors. Alright? Amnesia. If you want to talk about amnesia, this refers to the loss of memory and is of two types, anterograde and retrograde amnesia. And anterograde amnesia refers to the inability of an individual to establish new long-term memories of those types of information that form the basis of intelligence. The patient cannot establish new long-term memories of those types of information that form basis of intelligence. All right? And it usually occurs in lesions involving the hippocampus. Retrograde amnesia. This is inability of an individual to recall past memories. Amnesia is much greater for events of recent past than those of remote past. Okay? Things with just recent past memories, forget them. But those of remote past are usually hard to forget because they are rehearsed so many times that the memory traces are deeply ingrained and elements of these memories are stored in the widespread areas of the brain. That's why the remote past is difficult to undergo amnesia. Alright. Retrograde amnesia occurs in lesions involving the temporal lobe. For example, in the temporal lobe syndrome, there we can have retrograde amnesia of the recent past, okay? And said that anterograde occurs due to lesions of the hippocampus. All right, we saw this hippocamp formation important in encoding, new substrate for encoding. All right, let's talk about senile dementia. Senile dementia is a clinical syndrome in elderly people that is characterized by progressive impairment of memory and cognitive capacities. All right, so the common causes of dementia in the elders, one is Alzheimer's disease, two is that cerebrovascular disease, okay, and Parkinsonism. The three are major sources of dementia in the elders. So we are going to talk about Alzheimer's disease first. All right. This is a prototypical neurodegenerative disease. Prototype. Okay. Prototypical neurodegenerative disease characterized by a series of abnormalities in the brain that selectively affect neurons in specific regions, particularly in the neocortex, the entorhinal area, hippocampus, amygdala, nucleus basalis, anterior thalamus, locus coeruleus, and the ref complex. There is a severe loss of cholinergic neurons in the affected areas. So, series of abnormalities in the brain, they affect cholinergic neurons in specific regions. Not cholinergic basically, because the locus coeruleus, you can see these are having a different neurotransmitter. But the issue is about damaging of the neurons in these areas. If I can repeat, I talked about neocortex, entorhinal area, so this in the hippocampal formation, hippocampus, amygdala, nucleus basalis, anterior thalamus, locus coeruleus, and the rough complex. There's a severe loss of cholinergic neurons in affected areas, okay, causing Alzheimer's disease. All right. The sequence of events, you can look at this. Aggregation of amyloid peptide, AB40 and AB42. This aggregation is the origin of all events which occur to cause Alzheimer's disease. Aggregation of amyloid peptide, AB40 and A-beta 42. This will lead to formation of extracellular plaques, senile plaque formation, which are surrounded by altered fibers, okay, causing inflammatory reactions and oxidative damage. Neurofibrillary tangles do form, causing loss of synapses and neurons. This is degeneration of cholinergic neurons in the cerebral cortex and hippocampus. And as neurons degenerate, there is loss or decrease of neurotransmitter, call it acetylcholine, and eventually Alzheimer's disease or dementia results. All right, let's continue. Characteristic features of Alzheimer's disease. First, there is loss of recent memory in an otherwise alert individual. That is a good point. Impairment in other areas of cognition, such as language, problem solving, judgment, calculation, attention, and perception. If someone has impaired judgment, that is a very huge problem. Yeah, impaired judgment, you can imagine. All right. Psychiatric symptoms begin to appear as the disease progresses. Okay. And extrapyramidal and akinetic hypertonic symptoms also appear in the later stages. All these are features of Alzheimer's disease. Extrapyramidal and akinetic hypertonic symptoms in the later stages of the disease. So there also may occur loss of spatial orientation, and finally the patient has to lead a vegetative life without memory, without thinking power, speechless, inability to understand anything, inability to perform voluntary movements which we call apraxia, inability to recognize objects in spite of intact sensory modality. This is called agnosia. Last time we talked about visual agnosia, which was appreciative and associative, depending on the cortex which is damaged. Yeah, you can find that in memory also. In memory, part 2 video. Okay, so finally, this patient has to lead a vegetative life Without this, memory, thinking power is speechless, inability to understand anything, apraxia and agnosia. All right. So do not forget to like our videos, subscribe for more and better videos, and share to other fellows. So basically, this is the summary of part 3 of memory. All right, part 3 of memory has stopped here, and memory physiology has ended here in part 3. But part 1 and part 2 exist. So try to subscribe, try to share to other students to also enjoy. David 7 Science Theater, enjoy.